Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's project is all about the lessons I've learned so far as an anxiety coach. I've met with a variety of people from around the world who are struggling and battling with anxiety, but also things in their life has gotten so beyond them that they're trying to regain control. So as a coach, what I do is I help guide them through this recovery and healing process, that things could be better. And they recognize that because that's why they sign up. They see my videos or listen to my podcast. They relate to my story. They feel like they can come to me and open up about what they're battling. And they believe that things could be better from the sacrifice of that amount of money that they put into the coaching session, because they think that by investing in themselves they will get to a higher place. And so I meet with all these different people. So in this video I want to talk about what's common across all of these people that I meet, what works, what makes up the trait of a person, what makes up the personality trait of somebody suffering from anxiety, and what's necessary for change. And as a coach, I want to make you into the best problem solver you can be. I don't want to steal your problem or solve your problem for you, because that defeats the purpose. I want you to be that strong, independent individual who knows how to solve the problem and is confident that they can solve the problem, right? So the first thing I want to talk about in this video, one lesson I've learned so far being an anxiety coach, is how to communicate with people who are set in their ways of thinking, who have a set mindset. They say things like, I'll never change, it's never going to work, I'll always be this way. They feel like they are unable to overcome and step over this huge obstacle. And I've noticed when people start to adopt a developing mindset that through hard work, discipline, perseverance, failure, they begin to look at themselves differently, but also the perspective over the world shifts, that it just doesn't come like this, that waiting around for the world to change never works, that they have to put in that grind, they have to put in the effort for things to change. Number two, the second lesson I learned so far as a coach is that you have to suffer in order for things to get better. Why? Well, first of all, let's look at the anxiety response. What happens when you're put into a new situation? You go into a new job, you go into a new course, you move, or you read a new book even. What happens? Well, your anxiety response activates all the time when you're in a new situation. That's pain. Pain comes up when you're in a territory that is unfamiliar to you. But you have to go through that pain in order to gather new information. So you have to go through pain in order for you to learn. Learning is painful because you have to be the fool first before you become the master. So instead of people who have a set mindset, they want to stay in what's familiar, right? But they don't learn. They stay in pain, and then pain becomes what's familiar. So they step out of that into a new habit, they introduce a new habit, or they sacrifice old habits, and then that feels different because they're doing something new, right? And that produces more novelty. And so they go back into pain because pain is what's familiar. But it's through the aim of wanting things to be better and introducing new habits where you will find the solutions and the healing, right? You have to suffer. You have to confront your old past. You have to confront your past, what's underneath the surface, what's in your unconscious mind, your patterns of behavior. You have to confront your inadequacies. You have to confront the map that the map of the world you've been looking at, and you have to confront that map, and you have to redraw the map, which is a very hard thing and difficult thing to do, because you have to confront what has not been working for you, and that's painful. And then that leads me into number 3. The third thing I've learned being a coach is that certain behaviors make up the quality or the personality of the anxiety sufferer. Certain behaviors like reassurance seeking, always being around loved ones to make them feel good or make them feel safe or secure or wanted. And then there's Googling symptoms, because they are trying to solve the problem, but when they go on Google, there's like an infinite amount of problems Google projects, and then that sends the anxiety sufferer into more novelty, which is not a good thing. And then the anxiety sufferer avoids situations because they feel like when they're in their safe zone, that that's what's necessary to live, but not realizing that outside of their safe zone is when they start to confront and gather new information, which is necessary for change. And then there is the obsessive personality, which you're continuously focusing in on your bodily sensations. You might have this kidney disease, you might have this stomach ulcer, you might have, whatever it is, a brain tumor. The constant focus really impacts the quality of the anxiety sufferer's life. And that obsessing, that lifestyle, all of these behaviors really prevent the person from living a fully confident, healed, radiant, relaxed lifestyle. Number 4, the fourth lesson I've learned as a coach is that from all of the clients that I've worked with, I've found that you can heal your past. You can heal. I've seen miraculous transformations just from a 5-minute NLP meditative exercise. When I guide someone through their past traumas or a moment from their past that is causing them a lot of emotional distress, that you can heal that moment in your past. And a lot of people have a hard time living nowadays because a part of them is still stuck in the past. They still ruminate over that past highly emotional event from high school, or when they were 8 years old and they witnessed something traumatic happen in their family. Or I've seen people overcome wrongful programs that have been installed when they're 8 years old. I've seen throughout all of these different coaching sessions, many people first encounter this extreme trauma and dissonance when they're around 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, around that time frame. And it impacts them and it sticks with them. And this program continues to run their life. They're filtering in all of this outside information that fits with that program. Oh, I'll never be beautiful because of this program that was installed when I was 8 years old, because of somebody telling me that I wasn't, or that these anxious behaviors are necessary. This obsessing is necessary in my life, because well, I've seen my mom do it, or I've seen my dad do it when I was 8 years old, and that's what's required of me to be an adult, or that's what's necessary. That's a quality that's necessary to have in life, but it's not. Once you go through this NLP exercise that I help guide my clients through to help heal them from this past. And these exercises that help heal trauma, like through NLP, or just even writing about the trauma, it helps the client. And it helped me because I used to suffer from many traumas. It helped me to analyze the situation. And when you start to analyze and examine and explore and pick apart and dissect that past highly emotional situation, you start to learn the lesson of, oh, I understand why I went through that, or I understand where my parents were coming from. I understand that I kept this traumatic moment within me because I didn't have the tools necessary to heal. So understanding the trauma and revisiting the trauma and imagining what you would have liked to see instead helps you to heal from that trauma. But also it's communicating with your anxiety response. You're communicating with that response saying that I've learned how not to fall into the same pit again. Because your anxiety response is holding on to that part of the past, right? It's holding on to that. Why is it holding on to it? Because it thinks that, well, there's this problem here. It hasn't been solved. And I don't want Brad to walk into that same situation again in the future. So I want to keep it at the forefront of Brad's mind. I want to keep it there. Until I confront it, until I examine it and dissect it and understand what happened, I won't get past that trauma. And now the fifth lesson I've learned being a coach is why people stop progressing. People stop progressing because they fall back into their set mindset ways. They feel like they'll never overcome this trauma, their anxiety, these challenges. There's too much to grapple with. But when I coach and talk with my clients, we set micro goals because it's all about overcoming that one challenge that builds the confidence up in that client. You have to focus on one thing. Many of the clients that I meet, there's so much chaos, they don't know what to focus on. They try and grab onto one thing and solve it, and then they let go of it, and then they feel like they'll never overcome all of this chaos. But they have to grab onto that one thing and focus and solve that one problem. So failure is really important to understand when you go through this recovery journey and this healing journey, that failure is necessary. Failure actually serves as a tool, and that you have to fail forward. You have to fail, and you have to be comfortable with failing and starting from square one. And then you may have to change your strategies. What's working? What's not working for you? Are you continuously focused in on what you want to accomplish, why you're on this recovery path in the first place? And many of my clients, they forget going through the recovery journey how far they've already come. So I bring them back into, and I bring them back into this realization when I'm talking with them that, hey, look, you've already come this far. Look what you've accomplished so far. What was it like before you met me for coaching? Now, what is your anxiety level It's still high, but it's not a level 10 like before. It's a level 7. So I help them reorient their focus on the progress. Reach into the cookie jar, like David Goggins says, who is a mentor of mine. He says, reach into what you've done so far. And when you start to reach in that cookie jar of what you've accomplished, that builds your confidence, and that strengthens your mind, and it adds more fuel to the uncertainty that is luring over you going forward. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Remember, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video or podcast. Bye for now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be one of the first to know. Namaste.